You know what's interesting about building wealth? It's not a smooth, gradual process where everything just gets a little bit better every year. There are these specific moments, these threshold amounts, where something fundamental shifts in how you think about money and life. Like the difference between having $10,000 and 20,000 isn't that meaningful psychologically, but the difference between having zero and having 10,000, that's massive. And the jump from 100,000 to 250,000, that changes everything again. My name is Chris, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. And what I've realized is that there are four specific net worth levels that completely transform how you process financial decisions, how you feel about risk, and what you believe is possible for your life. And by the end of this, you're going to see exactly what those levels are, what changes at each one, and where you need to get to next if you want to unlock the next level of financial thinking. Let's start with the first level, and honestly, this is the most psychologically important one. $10,000 in liquid savings. Not your retirement account, not equity in your house, just cash you can access. And what changes at 10,000 is massive. You stop feeling broke. For the first time, maybe ever, you look at your account and you have a buffer. If your car breaks down, you can handle it. Yeah, if you lose your job, you've got a couple months to figure things out. You're not one emergency away from catastrophe anymore. And that psychological shift is enormous. When you're living with zero savings, every financial decision is made from a place of fear and scarcity. You're reactive, you're stressed, you're desperate. But at 10,000, you start making decisions from stability instead of panic. You can take a day to think about purchases instead of having to decide immediately based on whether your account will be overdrawn. You can negotiate better because you're not desperate. You can say no to opportunities that don't serve you because you have a cushion. $10,000 isn't life-changing money in terms of what you can buy with it, but it's life-changing in terms of how it makes you feel and think. You cross from scarcity mindset to stability mindset, and that changes every financial decision you make going forward. The second level is $100,000 in investable assets. This is where people usually hit it in their retirement accounts, investment accounts, or a combination of savings and investments. And what changes here is that you start to see compound interest working in real time. At 10,000, if your money grows by 10%, you made $1,000. Nice, but not transformative. At 100,000, 10% growth is $10,000. That's real money. That's more than most people save in an entire year, and you earned it by doing nothing except having money invested. For the first time, you viscerally understand that your money can work harder than you do. You're not just saving anymore. You're building a machine that generates wealth. And psychologically, this creates momentum. You start getting excited about investing instead of viewing it as deprivation. Every dollar you add to that 100,000 base compounds faster. The game gets easier, and you develop this identity shift. You're not someone who's trying to build wealth anymore. You're someone who is building wealth. You have proof. And that confidence changes how you make every subsequent financial decision. You think longer term. You're more strategic. You stop chasing get-rich-quick schemes because you can see that the boring, consistent approach is working. The third level is somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 in net worth, and this is where flexibility emerges. At this level, you're not financially independent yet. You still need to work for income, but you have options that simply didn't exist before. You could take 6 months off if you needed to. You could switch to a lower paying job you actually enjoy because your investments are covering a meaningful portion of your expenses. You could start a business and give it time to work without needing immediate income. You have what I call screw you money. Not enough to retire, but enough to walk away from situations that don't serve you. Bad boss? Toxic workplace? You can leave. You're not trapped anymore. And this changes everything about how you approach your career and your life. You stop operating from desperation. You stop tolerating things you shouldn't tolerate. You make decisions based on what you want, not just what you need. And professionally, this often leads to better outcomes because when you're not desperate, you perform better, you negotiate better, and you attract better opportunities. Like today, at this level, your relationship with work fundamentally changes. It's no longer about survival, it's about choice. The fourth level is crossing $1 million in net worth. And this is where you start thinking about legacy and impact instead of just security. At $1 million, you know you're going to be okay. You're not worried about retirement anymore. You're not worried about emergencies. The basics of life are covered. And suddenly you start thinking about different questions. What do I actually want to do with my time? What impact do I want to have? How do I want to be remembered? What can I build or create or contribute that matters beyond just accumulating more money? This sounds abstract, but it's real. When survival and security are handled, your brain naturally moves to higher level concerns. You start thinking about investing in your kids' futures or supporting causes you care about or building something meaningful. You become less focused on protecting what you have and more interested in deploying it strategically. And you develop this long-term perspective that changes how you see everything. You're thinking in decades, not years. You're planting trees you won't sit under. You're making decisions that benefit future generations, not just your immediate comfort, right? Money stops being the goal and becomes a tool for creating the life and legacy you actually want. And here's what's really important to understand about these 4 levels. You can't skip them. You can't jump from zero savings to thinking like someone with $1 million. Your psychology has to evolve through each stage, The person with 10,000 thinks about risk completely differently than someone with nothing. The person with 100,000 thinks about opportunity differently than someone at 10,000. Each level builds on the previous one, and each level creates the mindset necessary for the next level. That's why the first 10,000 is so critical. It's not just the money, it's proving to yourself that you can build wealth. It's developing the discipline and habits. It's shifting from scarcity to stability. And once you make that shift, getting to 100,000 becomes possible. Once you hit 100,000 and see compound interest working, getting to 300,000 or 500,000 becomes realistic. And once you have that flexibility and security, building to $1 million is just a matter of time and consistency. Look, here's what you need to understand about these 4 levels. Wherever you are right now, your goal is just to get to the next one. Say if you're at 0, stop trying to think about what you'll do with $1 million. Just focus on getting to 10,000. If you're at 50,000, don't worry about hitting $1 million. Focus on crossing 100,000. Each level unlocks different thinking, different opportunities, different possibilities, and you have to earn each level by doing the work to get there. But once you cross each threshold, you'll notice the shift. You'll feel it. The way you think about money, risk, opportunity, time, it all changes. And those changes compound just like the money does. So push to the next level, get there, experience the shift, and then push to the level after that, because each one makes you someone different, someone more capable, someone with more options. And ultimately, that's what building wealth is really about. Not the money itself, but who you become in the process of building it. If this helped you understand exactly where you are and where you need to go next, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you're working toward that critical first 100,000 and feeling the struggle, check out what nobody tells you about saving your first $100,000. I'll see you in the next one.